Ladies and gentlemen, forget the catchphrase, where's Hunter? Where's Kamala? Yeah, I know she's at rallies and so forth, and the sugar high continues. They get 2,700 people in Wisconsin, and they think this is the best thing ever. Now, we know they've had a corpse up there, so we allow them some grace, don't we? Yeah, they're having their moment, their sugar high. The fever pitch of the fake demanded enthusiasm continues, and the real Tim Walz becoming clearer and clearer. And today, we look at what he really represents at the state of Minnesota and within his own family. The rampant, radicalized liberal agenda in America has never been more pronounced than it is now with a Harris-Walz ticket. The most radicalized politicians in the history of America. And they will rain down their patron demons, chaos and crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, all of that and more today. The Right Side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey, everybody. My name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right Side with Doug Billings, Right Side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and His divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
Sure, I'm glad to be with you today. Again, we are shoulder to shoulder in our endeavor to reclaim the Republic away from the radicalized commune socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party. They are, without a doubt now, full force communism, socialism combined, radicalized, the most radical duo running for president and vice president in the history of this republic. The two people, Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, by themselves, both indicated the most radical liberal agendas as vice pretender and as governor of Minnesota. Put them together, and we have now a tag team of terror. And I mean it. I mean, I'm not even trying to be funny. What they represent and what they have done by virtue of their policies, their politics, and their platform have been nothing but chaos, purposeful chaos. And it's day 2 of this ticket of terror. And we see this developing right in front of our very eyes. The radical left, meanwhile, we can see it all around. If you spend any time at all on social media, you see this avalanche of fake and demanded enthusiasm, this sugar high that they're on, partly because they've never had the ability to do the kind of rallies that they're doing now. We conservatives look at them and go, okay, great, good job. You had 2,700 people show up today in Wisconsin. And again, most of them there to see a folk group sing some songs. They continually have to use other means to fill or put people in these venues. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are not the headliners. It's either a rapper or a folk star. So there's that, all right? And then you look at the crowd and you think, yeah, I get it. With the walking dead Biden, you know, the zombie land that he represented, the corpse that he is, of course they're going to get excited because Kamala and Tim can walk up and down stairs without falling down. Something to be excited about if you're part of the radical left. The sugar high is going to end. They at some point are going to have to face the media and the press. They're going to have to hold a press conference and field questions and give actual answers instead of speaking for 13 minutes on stage at a rally. It's been 18 days since Kamala was handed the nomination to the Commune Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party. And we have not heard a word from the vice pretender. Not in a press setting, not answering tough questions. We see her on the stage at a rally that's only filled because they put a rapper and a folk group in as the headline act. But there is a lot of enthusiasm for these people, and you can't blame them because they had the dance of the living dead with Joe Biden. Okay, so we get it. We understand that. But that is not going to be enough to sustain the momentum to win a presidential election. And besides, we're going to have to start asking questions about what their policy, platform, and politics are. And when you begin to peel that onion back, it's the most unappealing thing that you'd ever want to see. And millions of Americans won't have it. Because millions of Americans are already saying to themselves, this is not what I signed up for. This chaos that Biden and Harris have thrust upon us, it's not what I signed up for. And that's the reason why multiple millions of people have already come over to the right side and who will remain with us through this election season. The polling that you see out there doesn't take into account sound methodology, and it's all about the feel good, the sugar high, the fake enthusiasm that's been demanded, by the way, from the radical left liberal hierarchy. It will fade, and it's not substantive. It will not sustain a presidential campaign. And as I said at the beginning of the program when we kicked it off today, forget the where's Hunter, mantra. Where's Kamala? Why is she hiding in the basement? They've picked up right where they left off with Joe. A campaign based in the basement, based in not addressing the truth and not speaking to and with the people. So in this frustration that we're feeling today, I'm going to show you something here. We have J.D. Vance, who pulled off one of the best and most brilliant political moves of the week today. So, I'm sure Harris and Walz were in Wisconsin. They had a rally there. Okay, 2,700 people. Oh boy, a lot of social media influencers showing pictures of the long lines and waiting to get in. And we grant you all of that. Okay. Trump, meanwhile, of course, 50, 60, 70,000 people. Up in Pennsylvania several months ago, the outdoor at the boardwalk, 104,000 people. So they can have their 2,700 and be excited because they have never been able to experience this with Joe. We get it. We understand it. We'll give you some grace. Enjoy yourselves. Have fun during the sugar high. Because once we step back into reality and leave Kookville behind, you're not going to be able to talk about anything of substance and anything of value with regards to records of Kamala and Tim. Because their records are radical, liberal, anti-America. So J.D. Vance today goes to the Harris and the Walz rally in Wisconsin. He wants to confront Kamala. He wants to ask her, where the heck are you? Why aren't you talking with the press? Why aren't you speaking with the media and answering tough questions and giving Americans answers to the questions that we have? So I think it was one of the best political moves of the week. And he said, in when he was joking with the press, he said, I'm just out here trying to check out my future plane, as he references and looks over at Air Force Two over there, which is, as you know, the plane that carries the vice pretender, in this case, Kamala Harris. But I've got a clip here for you. I want to check it out. Logan, let's show him the J.D. Vance clip in Wisconsin today.
I figured I'd come by and one, just get a good look at the plane. Hopefully it's going to be my plane in a few months, but I also thought you guys might get lonely because the vice president doesn't answer questions from reporters and hasn't for 17 days. Have they given you guys an explanation for why she won't take questions from reporters? No? Nobody? Okay, great. Well, I hope that she changes her mind because it'd be good for the American people, and I think it'd be good for you all if she actually ran a real campaign instead of one from a basement with a teleprompter. So have a good one, guys. See ya.
What would you like to hear from her?
I'd love her to answer your questions. I'd love her to just answer what she wants to do and also explain why every single position she has changed. She pretends to be a prosecutor, yet she pretends to be a tough on crime prosecutor, and yet here she is wanting to be on the police. She's the border czar, yet she's opened up the American southern border. This is a person who has to answer the questions from the media, and it's disgraceful that she wrote to you guys. It's also insulting to the American people. But anyway, we're going to go do our event. I appreciate you guys being here. I wish she paid you some more attention. See ya.
So I love that. He just strolls across the tarmac like a boss, and he goes to the media. You see Kamala's caravan back there. Her detail is right behind him. She's in one of that first black SUV, and they've got Tim and everyone else behind her, Tim Walz, the whole caravan right there. And J.D. Vance just walks right up. Where is she? I'm sorry that she hasn't spoken to you. Hopefully this will be my plane in a few months and all that. And did you notice the female, the security officer, the Secret Service? Is that the same one that was trying to protect Trump during the assassination attempt? I just noticed. You might want to replay that and watch it later, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think. But J.D. Vance pulls off the best, I think, political move of the week, at least, with this appearance in Wisconsin on the tarmac right in front of Air Force Two, Kamala's plane, and lays it out for her, sticks it to her. So it's great. But she's picking up right where Biden left off. A basement campaign, not answering any questions, no press conferences. What is it, 18 days now since she's been given the keys to the nomination. Major political party running a campaign that's based upon total avoidance of the United States press corps and the media. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's absolutely an insult to anyone who takes the moment to just think about this. What an insult to the American people. A major political candidate of a major political party, albeit an anti-American political party and an anti-America candidate, but still not taking the time to talk to people, to the press, to Americans. It's an abject insult. And it's the reason that they're avoiding the media. The reason that they are delaying any kind of interaction at all with Kamala and the press is because what they're doing right now, and I'm not kidding you, what they're doing is they're behind the scenes, they're going back through time. They're looking through all of Kamala, all of Tim Walz's social media posts, all of their record, the record of vice pretender, the record of being governor of Minnesota, and they're scrubbing a lot of it, and they're identifying all of it. And they're trying to pick out the nonsense that they've all posted during this time. Kamala has said and stood for her political career. We know what she stands for. She's to the far left of Bernie Sanders. That should send chills down your spine right there. They've hired writers. They've hired public relations experts to go into their social media accounts to try to countermeasure what their kookdom is. And they are kooks, ladies and gentlemen. So how do they countermeasure that? That's what the task of these writers, the public relations experts and so forth are doing right now behind the scenes in the in the Harris and Walz camp. That's what they're doing. They're trying to build an image around her. And one that isolates to as best as they can, that isolates her radical left rhetoric and his radical left record in the state of Minnesota. And by the way, they're trying to dress up and put lipstick on her utter incompetence. That's what they're doing. They're also trying to anticipate the questions because they will one day have to talk with the press. So they're back behind the scenes trying to anticipate, what is the press going to ask us, I wonder? And so they're putting all of this together. You can bet that they're having moments of rehearsal with Kamala and Tim. Here's what we think they're going to ask. Be prepared if they ask this. Tim, we're going to have to address the fact that you let Minnesota burn during the summer of 2020. You're going to have to talk about that, Tim. Kamala, you're to the left of Bernie Sanders. You both want to give voting rights and IDs to illegal immigrants. You don't want borders. You want to erase and diminish our American identity. You're going to have to talk about this at some point. So that's what they're all trying to work out behind the scenes with that campaign. And that's why she's been hiding from the press, because they haven't got it fully worked out yet. You see, it takes a long time, doesn't it, to create a likable image for someone who has been so disliked and so disrespected for so long and who is so unqualified as Kamala Harris. Takes a long time to polish that up. The radicalized lives, not just their public lives, but their personal lives. It extends to their family members as well. And I'm going to pick up on that when we come back from our break. I do want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, my friends, to head over to DougBillings.us, please. Think about heading over there prayerfully, considering setting up a monthly recurring donation so that I can continue to bring you the show. I never charge you for this program. You can watch it free on X. You can catch it on Rumble, on YouTube, the good people at worldviewtube.com. Put it up over there and on Spreely. But if you go to dougbillings.us, you can set up a monthly recurring donation that will help me continue to produce and put forth this show. So again, I never charge you for it. Just prayerfully consider, what's the truth worth to you? And once you decide that, head over to dougbillings.us and please prayerfully consider setting up that monthly recurring donation. All right, you have a good time here into your trip into capitalism, and I will be right back to talk to you about how radicalized Tim and Kamala really are. The true picture of the ticket of terror coming into focus. I'll be right back. Stay with me. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that you could change the trajectory of your aging process? Look and feel better, live younger, be more active, less pain when you move around, sleep better, diminish the lines and the wrinkles on your face? Really? This is what I'm telling you. It's possible. You see, low stem cell activity happens when we get older, and it could be causing many of the health problems that some people have in the world today. Because as we get older, we have less stem cell activity, which means we age faster and we heal slower. The secret is a clinically proven and patented phototherapy non-transdermal patch, whose technology is the result of over 90 clinical studies and over 20 years of research. Your healthier life can begin today, and you can discover true age reversal. Age reversal, ladies and gentlemen. Please go to liveyoungerwithdoug.us. liveyoungerwithdoug.us, ladies and gentlemen. Get over there today. Or if you'd like, text my name, Doug, to 41372. Doug, text it, 41372. And get over to liveyoungerwithdoug.us. Get younger, feel younger. I'm doing it. I'm wearing this patch. I feel great. And so will you. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
I want to tell you about the good people over at EMP Shield, electromagnetic pulse, ladies and gentlemen. It can fry your home electrical system or your vehicle's electrical system. But if you attach one of these, now this is for your breaker box at home. There's a smaller version that goes on your battery of your car, your vehicle, that will prevent it from being fried in the event of an electromagnetic pulse. Because as you know, thanks to Administrator Biden, many people coming across the border now who don't exactly have the best of intentions. Protect yourself. EMPshield.com. Get huge discounts over there if you use the promo code Doug.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, coming to you from the fruited plains of America.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Right Side. Doug Billings here with you. Thank you very much. I mean that. Standing shoulder to shoulder, watching us on X, on YouTube. We're on Rumble. We're on Facebook as well. And thank you. Worldviewtube.com and the good people at Spreely TV also throwing this program out all over the place. Thank you for being with me. I appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen, very much indeed. So today, the ticket of terror coming back into picture. It's focused now. We're beginning to learn a lot more. We already knew a lot about Kamala, but this Tim Walz guy, right, the governor of Minnesota, radicalized, liberal, anti-American. Now, that sounds harsh to a lot of they're anti-American folks. Look at what the Biden and Harris administration has done for the last 3.5 years. Where is the love of America? Destroying our borders. You know, the number one issue today on everyone's mind is the illegal immigrant crisis that we have here. And I was the first one to tell you when this whole thing began back in 2020, the open borders, the absolute, the invasion of illegal immigrants that we've suffered through. And the reason, one of the primary reasons behind this is because they need them to be part of their new electoral base. And it's obvious they are attempting right now to pass legislation that will give these people voting rights. It's already bad enough that when they come in and they have children, the children become anchor babies, right? Citizens in this country, which is something that President Trump will address, if not the first day, certainly the first week of his presidency when he is sworn in January of 2025. We've got to get a grip on this. No nation in the world can survive this kind of invasion. It's exactly why what we see going on in the UK is happening. Have you seen the nonsense over there? Same thing in France, Germany, Spain to a degree. The loss of national identity because of an influx of multiple millions of illegal immigrants who have come in to set up shop. And you saw the Democrat Communist Socialist Party give a tip of the hat, if you will, to a radical group in this country by not choosing Josh Shapiro. A lot of debate and speculation about this. It's much more interesting to look at who Kamala didn't pick as opposed to who she did pick for her vice president running mate. Josh Shapiro, the governor from Pennsylvania, Jewish guy. Well, the radical left hierarchy, especially members of the squad, can't have a Jew in the leadership role in their party. They can't have it. And so what they do there, ladies and gentlemen, is they give a nod to the radical Muslim communities in America. And there are radical Muslim communities in America, I'm sorry to say. There's radical Christian groups within America. We've got to be able to identify and say that out loud. Not all, but there are. And so we see this, we look back and we go, because we have intellectual maturity, we understand what they're doing, and we go, well, when is it going to be that we actually begin to talk about these things? Because we've got to either have one of these candidates or both of them in front of the press so that we can ask questions, if the press even begins to go down those roads. But we keep on pressing on social media, and I will keep on pressing on this program, because that's precisely what they're after, is the deconstruction of America, the fundamental transformation of America away from the divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers. And they do that quite expeditiously. They do it by infiltrating the country with illegals, smothering our national identity, and just letting that run rampant. And so Kamala, I spoke before the break about how they are trying to do a makeover on Kamala. And the reason that she's not in front of the cameras, in front of the press corps, she'll give the rallies because she doesn't have to answer any questions at the rallies. She can talk about whatever she wants to. She can talk about anything on that stage, and she does. But the reason that they have to do this makeover, because they have a real problem. People don't like Kamala. It is absolutely one of the most strangest things. They had to do it. They had to give her the nomination, I understand, because she's a DEI hire, right? So they painted themselves into that corner. They couldn't dump her because she's a woman of color. It would be if they believed in sin, that would be a mortal sin for them to get rid of her because she's a woman of color. We can't do it. We're painted into this DEI corner because Administrator Biden himself said that he would not appoint anyone to the vice presidency except a woman, and a woman of color. So here we are. They can't get rid of her, so they've got to try to rebrand her. And that's what they're working on behind the scenes. But I remind you, people out there don't and never have liked her. She was viewed roundly around the Liberal Party as the worst possible candidate to put up. That's why we know that the enthusiasm that you see surrounding her today is fake, and it's demanded from the liberal hierarchy. And it is an absolute avalanche of fake enthusiasm. There is nothing organic about liking Kamala Harris. Reagan has a clip that I want to show you. It goes back in time a bit, just a couple of years ago. This is what people were saying about Kamala Harris, and nothing has changed. Clip number 2, Reagan.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
There are reports that say that you have the lowest approval rating of any vice president.
Well, there are polls that also say I have great approval ratings.
Swing voters don't like Harris. How big a drag is Kamala Harris on the ticket?
She's a pretty big drag. I think she was arguably Biden's worst political decision.
They don't like her. There's lots of reasons they don't like her.
Kamala Harris's approval rating is now at 28%, which is an historic low for any modern vice president.
We're hearing it from mainstream media, one outlet after another, one leak after another. That Kamala Harris is the worst vice president ever, the worst politician ever.
We don't see the vice president.
What people are saying to me, and I'm sure they're saying it to you, where is the vice president? Some White House officials are feeling that she came off looking unprepared for inevitable questions about when she might visit the southern border.
We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
The point that Lester Holt was making was obvious to anyone else who was watching this interview, which is that the issues at the border are inextricably linked with the portfolio that she's been given.
The border is secure. We have a secure border.
Bidenomics is working.
Prices have gone up. And families and individuals are dealing with the realities of that bread costs more, that gas costs more. And we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living going up.
He picked Kamala Harris to be his running mate. She was ranked and is ranked as the most liberal senator in the United States Senate. So he could have gone the other way, but he went to the left.
Joe Biden is running for re-election, and I will be his ticket mate. Full stop. Full stop. That's it.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Okay, so what that clip represents, aside from the fact that nobody likes her, is that, first of all, when you see Kamala in that clip, she is the world's worst public speaker. She has no gift to speak publicly. She must have a teleprompter. You saw her at towards the end of that clip talking about the cost of food and inflation and so forth. She mumbling her words, can't think straight, can't speak well at all. That's part of her. That's what she is. That's, again, part of the makeover that they're trying to address behind the scenes. And part of the reason why she's not been seen in a press session answering tough questions in almost 18 days, over 18 days now. Also, what you see there is something that I pointed out to you when Kamala was given the keys to the nomination. And that is, and this, again, I'm going to paraphrase, and I'll put a disclaimer in front of this comment because it will sound crazy to you, what I'm about to tell you. And it might sound counterintuitive, but here it is. The radical left liberal hierarchy with Harris and Walz, they have a set of goals in front of them, obviously, and two primary goals. And the first goal, believe it or not, and this is what's going to sound counterintuitive to you, the first goal of the radical liberal party is not the presidency, is not to obtain the office of the White House. Shocker, right? It's not their first goal. It's their second goal. They will take it. Yes, of course. If they can get it, they'll take it. But their primary goal, and it's so obvious when you look at the nature and the records of these candidates, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Their number one goal is simply to move the needle, the political needle in this country further to the left. That's what they're after. Number one goal. Change the discussion, move it to the left. Move the goalposts as far over there to the left as we can. So that in the future, it just seems normal to talk about giving illegal immigrants voting privileges. It just seems normal not to have a border. It seems normal to talk about making abortion a fundamental codified right in our republic. It'll all seem normal because they've moved that needle. Well, we're going to prevent that. We're not going to let them change the dialogue. We're not going to let them move the needle. We're not going to let them have the presidency. We win, ladies and gentlemen. We are the only, as conservatives, we are the only major political party in this nation that aligns itself with the divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers. The radical liberal commune socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, certainly cannot claim that. All right, up against another break, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to talk to you about Tim Walz, about his radicalized views, even the views of his wife during the Summer of Love, as they called it, right? When Minneapolis and Minnesota, cities throughout the country run, led, and managed by the liberal commune socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, were burning to the ground. I'll share a little insight about how radical they really are. I'll be right back. Stay with me. Cheers.
twc.health/Brandon. This is one of our sponsors, has been now for a few years. Here it is. You just go there. If you use that URL, folks, you not only save money, but our program gets credit, which helps us keep doing great shows like this for free and pushing them out. twc.health/Brandon. Look up here at the top of the page where it says Med Kits. Go down there to the one that says Contagion Emergency Kit. Contagion Emergency Kit. That's the one you want, right, Dr. McCullough?
Right. That's going to cover bird flu. Just you start on day one. I think all the animal workers, people in rural areas need to have these. You can't wait around for the pharmacist. If you start early, that comes with telemedicine. We can intensify the antivirals, get other drugs going. Very affordable. Join through Brandon's website. Join as a member, because we're working on ways to replace the used drugs, and you have to be a member to get that advantage.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, where we meet in determined prayer and determined patriotism.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Hey, since we do walk this path together, you and I, shoulder to shoulder, every once in a while I hear of sponsors that can help. We are in uncertain times. That's saying the least, right? We have Bidenomics to deal with. We have the cascading chaos that the radical left liberal party throws at us every day. Well, you never want to be caught empty-handed and unfed during times of adversity, challenge, and tragedy. So my website, dougsbeef.com, head over there and check it out. Stock up. Freeze-dried, delicious, American-raised and bred beef right there. It's the Prepper Pack. You can get it over there at dougsbeef.com. Check it out, and it is delicious. A shelf life of 25 years. The only thing that I knew that had a shelf life of 25 years was a Twinkie. But these things are much better for you and better tasting. So it's perfectly healthy, delicious, easy to prepare. dougsbeef.com. Head over there. If you're a prepper, if you want to be prepared, have your stock up your cupboards, get your basement ready for what may happen. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, Tim Walz, his radicalness becoming, I should say, further in focus as we go along here over the next few days, and we've seen a look at him now. The ticket of terror, Kamala Harris, Tim Walz. Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, the guy who actually let his state burn. This is what they're going to have to talk about, and part of the reason they're not going to the press is because they have to figure out what they're going to say about all this. They've got to figure out how to get a PR team around this and dress it up, because it's not pretty. The summer of 2020, the George Floyd tragedy, the riots that happened, anarchists. Now, look, there was no crisis. They wanted to create one. So George Floyd was just the fuse that lit the mob on fire. And it was something that was planned, coordinated. Black Lives Matter, domestic terror group, Antifa also involved. This is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when radical liberals don't get their way in states and in cities that are run, led, and managed by the radical communist socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party. They have pallets of rocks, bricks, and stones delivered to downtown street corners in these cities, and they began to riot and loot and pillage and destroy businesses and lives. And Tim Walz, by virtue of his silence on the matter and by virtue of his inaction, he didn't do a damn thing to stop this. So because of that, he's complicit. He enabled them to riot simply because he didn't take action to stop it. He calls up President Trump and begs for help. Hey, help me out. Can you just put the word out that I'm a good guy, that they shouldn't? And Trump obliges him, puts out a tweet or two and says, hey, Tim Walz is a good guy, this and that. That's the context of the tweets you may have seen that the radical left is putting up there. Well, Trump said that Tim Walz is a good guy. He was trying to protect him because he'd been asked a favor. Tim Walz didn't want the mob to come to his house. So Black Lives Matter, Antifa, riots, looting, destruction of property, rape, murder, all happening throughout the state of Minnesota, and especially and most severely in Minneapolis. Yesterday, there was an old tweet that was found. It was unearthed from Gwen Walz. It's Tim's wife. And she is currently Minnesota's first lady. Absolutely set social media on fire yesterday with regards to what she said. She was describing in this clip. We don't have the clip, but it's just a very simple quote that I want to get out there for you so that you have context into the kind of radicalized family that this is. So she's talking about and describing the actions that she took during this 2020 Summer of Love. That's what the mayor of Seattle called it, right? The riots. Remember Chop and Chaz and the cities up there in Seattle? Summer of Love, that's all we have here. Move on, nothing else to see. Meanwhile, people are being murdered, businesses destroyed, and economies wrecked with arson and anarchy, right? Some Summer of Love. But Gwen Walz says this in this clip. She says this, I'm quoting directly. Again, we had more sleepless nights during the riots. I could smell the burning tires, and that was a very real thing for us, a period where I kept the windows open as long as I could because I felt like it was such a touchstone of what was happening, end quote. So excuse me, Gwen, what she's saying there, I kept the windows open, I could smell the tires burning, I wanted to keep them open because I felt this was a touchstone of what was happening. So the internet explodes, and rightly so, because what she's saying is that there's some sort of catharsis that she feels by smelling tires and smelling other people's property being burned to the ground. She wants to smell that. She wants to experience that. Is that bizarre? Is it abnormal? Is it crazy? I think so. I don't think normal people think that way. It's a radicalized approach. She wants to smell other people's misery. It's what the radical left is. And that comment from Gwen Walz is profoundly disturbing. They also have kids and one of their daughters working in concert with the anarchists who would give, because she had information from Dad, the governor, that the National Guard was not going to be involved on certain nights. And she would tell the anarchists, hey, it's clear. Tonight's all clear. There's not going to be any National Guard. Can you believe it, ladies and gentlemen? If any one of the Trump family members had done that, if you and I had done that, collaborating with anarchists to make sure that they were in the clear because of the National Guard, because Dad didn't order the National Guard to come in. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's absolutely disgusting. So the radicalized liberal platform, policies, and politics is thoroughly through that family and through what they do and how they behave and how they view the world and what they think about you. When we conservatives sit down at the dinner table at night, we say prayers, we say grace, and we begin to eat. Apparently, at the dinner table among the Walz family, they sit at the dinner table and discuss anarchy. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, chaos. Let me say a few words about chaos. The radical liberal party in America, I'm going to liken what we see at the border, all of this chaos, I'm going to liken it to a demon. Now, I'm not saying there's an actual demon named chaos, but if you think about it in a certain way, this demon of chaos has been unleashed by the radical left. In fact, chaos, I would put it to you, how we have patron saints in the Christian world, right? The radical left liberals have patron demons. And chaos is key among them. And so is the demon crisis. Remember, if there is no crisis, we will create one, because no good crisis can go unmet. We must have crisis and chaos. That's because it moves people to the government. We want there to be crisis. We want there to be chaos, because more and more of that pushes people towards big government. They believe that the big government can save you. On purpose? Absolutely. It's not accidental. We're not just watching collateral damage because of accidental policies that have been put in place. These are well thought out and devised plans and initiations of chaos and crisis throughout the country. The border is the biggest and the best example, but also there is energy independence. There is inflation, the cost of living, foreign policy, the debacle in Afghanistan, the war in Ukraine, the anti-Israel rhetoric being cast about. It's all purposeful, and it's all designed to cause chaos and crisis Don't let a good crisis go to waste. And when there isn't a crisis, by gosh, we will create one or create several of them. And Gwen Walz knew that Minnesota was under national scrutiny. Everybody had their eyes on Minnesota back in 2020 during these riots. Riots were engulfing the state. It's no secret. Plenty of video footage to show you. And she said, in her own words, and I quote her again, with COVID-19, the entire state was watching what Tim did. But with Mr. Floyd's death, it was the entire country looking at us and the whole world looking and watching at what we did here in Minnesota and what was our response to that. And what did they do? What was the response of Governor Walz? Ladies and gentlemen, one word: nothing. He did nothing to stop the anarchy, the riots, the looting, the arson. Nothing. President Trump offered military, United States Army. Didn't take it. Didn't even invoke his own National Guard for most of the riots. He's not just guilty of doing nothing, plain and simple. He's guilty of doing nothing on purpose. And that's just it. Purposeful chaos and crisis. Purposefully allowing the chaos of that situation to grow, to spread, and intensify. And this is the man who is going to be, according to them, the vice presidential candidate for the Communist Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party. Minnesota was ground zero for the Black Lives Matter, the Antifa riots, and all of that back in 2020. Vice Pretender Harris encouraged these riots. And you don't think so. She, by virtue of setting up funding mechanisms so that the anarchists could get bailed out of jail, absolutely she encouraged it. Don't worry, go out there and do what you're going to do. We're having bricks, rocks, and stones delivered to street corners. Go ahead and throw them through storefront windows. You're going to get arrested, but we'll bail you out. Absolutely evil. It is a coalition of immorality. And Tim Walz sat by and did nothing. He let Minneapolis burn. And the radical left hierarchy is trying to rebrand him and reimagine him as a father figure. He reminds us of our dad, doesn't he? The father figure who represents the demons of chaos and crisis. That's Tim Walz. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got to take another break. I will be right back. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. Cheers.
We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com.
Doug Billings, reminding you that conservatives are better looking than liberals.
Better looking than liberals. That's a scientific fact. Conservatives are generally better looking and happier than liberals. So you've got that going for you, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, by the way, another thing that you could have going for you in the era of Bidenomics is that you can diversify your retirement portfolios. Everybody's talking about it. You've heard about gold and silver and so forth. DougsGold.com. You can head over there today, ladies and gentlemen. Get information about what it takes to diversify your retirement portfolio. A lot of people doing this. It's the biblical standard for money, gold and silver. And I give you the opportunity and the information if you go over to DougsGold.com, ladies and gentlemen, and get all the information about that over there. So there it is right there on the screen. That's what DougsGold.com looks like. You can head over there. A form that you fill out, and we just send you the information, and you can prayerfully decide for yourselves what you want to do with regards to protecting your retirement funds. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, the Tim Walz and Kamala Harris ticket, the ticket of terror. They're trying to rebrand this, people not understanding why isn't she out answering questions in the press? Why isn't she giving press conferences? Because they're trying to rebrand and remake them from the radical left chaos and crisis couple that they are. They've got to make sure that they rebrand and repackage them because their past is absolutely nothing that will win them this election. The things in their policies, their platform, and their politics, all anti-American, anti-constitutional, anti-divine providence of God, anti-founding fathers. And so they try to rebrand Tim Walz. Oh, he reminds you of your dad. Look at the old guy, a baby boomer, which is surprising. I am surprised they chose an old white guy. I mean, it took me by surprise. I thought for sure it was going to be somebody else, somebody younger, but they can't rebrand. He's the father figure of chaos. All we have to do is look at Minnesota. What happened in 2020? And you know what else? This whole tampon, Tim, it does make me smile, makes me laugh. Putting tampons in little boys' restrooms in grade schools and middle schools in Minnesota. Now, if that doesn't make your skin crawl, I don't know what is, but this is what it's about with Tim Walz. He's made Minnesota a sanctuary city for children, minors, who don't want to tell their parents that they want to go through gender reassignment surgery. It is a coalition of immorality, and he's going to have to talk about that. And you'd better believe that J.D. Vance is going to bring it up when they have their debate, as he should. Minnesota, giving illegals driver's licenses, IDs, so they can vote. This is what's happening there. It is absolutely nothing that anyone with any shred of intellectual maturity can stand. The only reason you would be in support of that is because you're a blind partisan, not a patriot. And those are other words they're trying to commandeer now. There is nothing patriotic. The Commune Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, I am telling you, it is an anti-American political party, plain and simple. The ticket of terror. Now, I'm going to tell you, when, as governor, this guy, Tim Walz, state paid health care for illegal immigrants. Imagine that. You live in Minnesota and a portion of your paycheck is taken out, ripped away from you, and used to subsidize health care for illegal immigrants, people who should not be here, who have not entered this country legally. It's infuriating. And I'm nowhere near Minnesota. I'm infuriated on your behalf if you live there. I mentioned the sanctuary city for the kids. You know, that whole thing, ladies and gentlemen, I have said this on the show before. It is so unpleasant to think of what they are advocating for children. Little Johnny, little Sarah in grade school or middle school, not yet 18 years old, maybe in high school, who feel as if somehow they're gender misappropriated, which is not possible. It is not possible to be misgenderized. It's not possible. God does not make that mistake. The reason people feel that way is because it's a mental illness, my friends. They advocate for children to go in and have these surgeries that mutilate their genitalia because they feel as if they're gender misappropriated. And Tim Walz sets up Minnesota to be a sanctuary state to shield children, in many cases from their own parents who feel like they want to go through the surgery, these kids. You have to compartmentalize that. At least I do. I can't think about that during the course of a normal day. It makes me sick. So, yeah, I got to compartmentalize that. I tell it to you good people because we have got to begin, as this show stands for truth, we must tell the truth. And please, I ask you to share the program. Subscribe to this show on X or on worldviewtube.com or Spreely, Facebook, YouTube, X, Rumble, all of those. Subscribe and share the truth. Tim Walz, abortion. Now, it doesn't surprise anybody that a liberal wants to kill babies within the womb of their own mother. It doesn't surprise anybody. That's what they are. That's what they represent. But he wants to make abortion a fundamental right. He wants to codify it into our Constitution. Life for conservatives is not a losing issue. There's a trend in some circles, not all, in some circles of conservative thought that says, maybe we ought to back off this right to life. It's not a winning issue for it. That's BS. Life is always a winning issue for us. Thank you very much. We have the moral high ground and we have to take it. We need to rebrand perhaps how we take care of women and children and how we talk about that and to hold men accountable to their roles as father. But we clearly can own and talk about the issue of life. We are a culture of life, or at least we should be, and we are a party of life. It is a winning topic for us. It's only when we begin to back down and change our minds that we get flippy-floppy about it, and it makes us look inconsistent. If we're consistently strong about life, it is a winner for us. During COVID, Tim Walz, as governor of Minnesota, pushed for those long-term school closures. Remember those days when the kids couldn't go to school, conducting classrooms on Zoom, which is completely inappropriate and not functional, not beneficial. He set up a committee of people that would go out and hunt people down who broke the COVID rules. If you break the COVID rules, that means, going out in public without a mask, going to church without a mask, whatever the rules might be, going to work when you were told to stay home. This is the America of the radical liberal left. Trump was president during this time, but it was members of the radical left Communist Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, who wrecked our economy, who shut us down unconstitutionally, I might add, and who thrust upon us mandates that were unconstitutional. School children couldn't go to school. And think about this. High school student athletes, a whole year of school wasted where they couldn't compete on the field in sport to try to earn scholarships for college. And not just athletes, but students who would get scholarships for debate or for theater or for whatever, for journalism. All of that ripped away. They couldn't go to their prom. Now, it might not seem like the end of the world, but if you're 17 years old and your whole world is shut down for a year, that's a pretty big deal. And it didn't have to happen. Robbing kids of their opportunities, taking away a year of their life. This is what Tim Walz represents. The shattering of dreams and anti-American and anti-founding father policy, programs, and politics. And then that tampon Tim thing. He actually ordered in all of Minnesota's schools, grade schools, middle schools, high schools, tampons to be put into the boys' restroom. Now, what in the world? What kind of kookery are we dealing with here? Mental illness? Maybe so, but purposeful intention to drive the needle further to the left in this country. It's absolute nonsense. The American that would be created with a Harris-Walz administration would be very much like Minnesota. It would burn. And we will not allow America to go down that road. Look, again, I'm going to end where I began, ladies and gentlemen. You see this cascade of enthusiasm everywhere. For those of you that are on social media and out there and in the legacy news media to a degree, all of this enthusiasm, again, I've said this before, but it bears repeating because I want you to have a sense of real hope. There are orders that have come down from the hierarchy within the radical liberal party that demands this enthusiasm, that demands loyalty. We don't like Kamala. We know that. I showed you the clip earlier. Nobody likes her. World's worst candidate, too liberal. But we're in this DEI corner that Biden got us into. We can't fire her. We can't choose somebody else because the base of our party we'd have a civil war in our hands. So they've got to make it look as best they can. And nobody likes her, so they have to order the enthusiasm from on high. You will act enthused. And ladies and gentlemen, they have meetings about this, and they talk about it amongst themselves. Talking points, marching orders, all of it dispensed to the media, to the people that are influencers on social media, and that's why we see so much of it. It cannot sustain itself. It is a sugar high. And you see kids who are on a sugar high, what happens? They crash. And this campaign will crash. They are enjoying what I call their 15 minutes of fun. They had a walking corpse for a candidate. Now they don't. So there's enthusiasm. They could never have big rallies before. Now they can. So let them have it. They still can't fill a room unless they invite a rapper or a folk group, by the way, but let them have their fun. Have faith, be involved, don't become complacent, get out there, continue to tell your people about this program, and go to DougBillings.us. DougBillings.us, and set up a monthly recurring donation to the program so I can continue to bring it to you. Have a great night. You are not alone. We are in this together, ladies and gentlemen. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.